Hello everyone. Today we're going to be talking about how to graph absolute value. From what I've seen, many of you still have problems graphing absolute value. So we're going to do 3 examples from the green worksheet. Okay, we're going to do number 3, number 4, and number 5. Okay, so let's start with number 3. Number 3 says graph y is equal to the absolute value of x minus 2. Okay, let's start with that one. So the question says y, let's get close, y is equal to absolute value of x minus 2. We want to graph that. Okay, the first thing we're going to notice is that it's an absolute value. So remember what we talked about in class? What kind of shape does absolute value have? They have a V shape. Always remember they have a V shape. So we know it's going to be a V shape. Now the question is, where is the V and what does it look like? So let's start with that. Okay, so here we have the x and y coordinate, and our job is to graph this. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to set up a table. Remember, a V, all we need is 3 points. We need a point for the vertex, a point to the right of it, and a point to the left of it. Many of you have a problem with it because you don't know where to pick the vertex. If you just draw 3 points here, pick three random points here, you just might get a line rather than a V. So we got to pick the right points, and all we need is 3. Remember which 3 points? We need the vertex, a point to the left of it, and a point to the right of it. So now the question is, what is the point of the vertex? That's a big question. So we're going to set up our table, x, y, and we got to start picking points. Now remember, how do we pick the points for the vertex? The x value for the vertex is always when you set the inside of the absolute value to 0. So let's try that. So we have x minus 2 equals 0. Okay, and solve for x. Plus 2 here, plus 2 on the other side. X is equal to 2. That's important because that is one of the points we're going to choose is 2 for x. Now we got the vertex point for the x value. Now we can just choose a point to the left of it and a point to the right of it. So what's a point to the left of it? Good, 1. And what is the point to the right of it? 3. So randomly choose points. Now, when x is equal to 2, what is y? That way we have to plug back into this equation. So if x is equal to 2, what is y? Well, if x is equal to 2, then 2 minus 2 is 0. The absolute value of 0 is 0. So when x is 2, y is 2. What happens when x is equal to 1? Let's figure it out. So when x is equal to 1, we have y is equal to 1 minus 2. And what is y of 1 minus 2? It will just be y is equal to this absolute value of negative 1. And what would that be? Y is equal to 1. So when x is equal to 1, y is equal to 1. What about 3? So when y is equal to 3 minus 2. Okay? So y is equal to the absolute value of 1. And what would that be? Y is equal to 1 again. And boom, we have our 3 points. Now we can go over here and plot them. So when x is equal to 2, y is 0. So let's put some grids on our Cartesian coordinate. Okay? So when x is equal to 2, y is equal to 0. So when x is equal to 2, y is 0. When x is equal to 1, y is 1. So when x is equal to 1, y is 1. When x is equal to 3, y is 1. When x is equal to 3, 1, 2, 3, y is 1. And now we have our plot. Okay? Next question. Number 4. Y is equal to negative absolute value of x minus 2. Okay, so let's try this question. Okay, so the question says y is equal to negative of absolute value of x minus 2. Okay, that's our question. So now we have to graph it again. X, y. Same thing. We know this is going to be a V. We know it's going to be a V shape. Question is, what does it look like? And what are the points for it? So what's the first thing we do? For any V, we're going to go over this again. For any V, what do we need? We need to know the vertex. We got to know the vertex. And we got to know a point to the right of it and a point to the left of it. So let's figure out what the vertex is. Okay. So remember, how do you find the x value of the vertex? That is if you set the inside of the absolute value to 0. So let's do that. So we have x minus 2 equals 0. Again, x is equal to 2. Okay, so we have our 2 here. Once again, we're going to choose point to the left of it and to the right of it. So we're going to choose 1 and 3. So far, so good. Okay, so let's plug some numbers here. When x is equal to 2, what is y? Well, let's look at it. Y is equal to negative 2 minus 2. Y is equal to negative absolute value of 0. Y is equal to negative 0, which means y is just equal to 0. So when x is 2, y is 0. Okay, what happens when x is equal to 1? Let's look at it again. So y is equal to negative 1 minus 2. Y is equal to negative 1. Absolute value of negative 1. Y is equal to negative. What's the absolute value of negative 1? That's just 1. Okay, so y is negative 1. So when x is 1, y is negative 1. What about 3? Take a look at 3. Y is equal to negative 3 minus 2. Y is equal to negative 1. Y is equal to, what's the absolute value of 1? 1. Negative signs on the outside, so negative 1. And once again, when x is 3, y is negative 1. We have our 3 points now. Now we can go to this here and plot them. Okay, once again, let's put some grid on this thing. Okay, so when x is 2, y is 0. When x is 2, y is 0. Boom. When x is 1, y is negative 1. When x is 1, y is negative 1. When x is 3, y is negative 1. When x is 3, y is negative 1. And we have our graph for this value, for this equation. Okay? Now let's do another problem. That was number 4. And let's do number 5 now. So what does number 5 say? Number 5 says you want to graph y is equal to negative absolute value of x minus 1. Okay? Y is equal to negative absolute value of x minus 1. So let's try that. So number 5, y is equal to negative absolute value of x minus 1. That's what we want. Okay, let's graph that. Once again, we set up our coordinate. One, two, three, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. X, y. Okay, ignore that. That's not a point. That's just a pin mark. Okay, so first thing we're going to do, we need to figure out the vertex. Let's figure out the vertex for the V. Set up a table. And later on, we're going to show how to do a shortcut using translations. But for now, we're going to do a table style. Okay, x, y. And let's see what point should we do. Remember, we're trying to set up whatever's inside the absolute value equals 0. So in this case, that's just simple. We just have x in there. Set that to 0. What do we have? X is 0. So x is 0. Pick a point to the left of it and pick a point to the right of it. So -1, 1. And now let's graph this. So let's set up a table, okay? Now, when x is 0, what is y? Let's look at it. Y is equal to -0 minus 1. Y is equal to, what is the negative of, what's the absolute value of 0? That's just 0. So you get -0 minus 1. And -0 is just 0. So y is equal to -1. So when x is equal to 0, y is -1. What happens when we plug in -1? So -1 minus 1. Same thing. Let's take a look. What is the absolute value of -1? 1. And there's a negative sign on the outside, so -1 minus 1. Y equals -2. So when x is -1, y is -2. Okay, let's do another one. What about when x is 1? So y is equal to -1, absolute value of 1 minus 1. Y is equal to absolute value of 1 is 1 minus 1 minus 1. Y is equal to -2 again. So when x is 1, y is -2. Now we have our 3 points. We can go over here and plot them. So when x is 0, y is -1. X is 0, y is -1. When x is -1, y is -2. So when x is -1, y is -2. When x is 1, y is -2. X is 1, y is -2. And once again, we have our plot. So this is the graph for y is equal to negative absolute value of x minus 1. Okay? Once again, if you have questions, please ask me tomorrow, and I'll see you guys tomorrow then. Okay? Have a good night.